so many people just show up to life, and whatever life brings them, then that's what they react to. I teach the principle, if you're going to be the best version of yourself, no matter what happens to me, this is how I'm going to show up.
And welcome back to 5 Ideas. I'm your host, Joey Nagel, along with Rich Clay. Rich is a certified professional life and leadership coach specializing in working with entrepreneurs, business leaders, and he also works with athletes, actors, public speakers, and anyone who's interested in being a high achiever. His mission is to strategically guide achievers to unleash their destinies. I'm actually a coaching client of Rich Clay. If you've listened to any of the episodes, you know my story. I'll give you a super quick background. Rich has coached me through several big decisions in my business and my life. I'm currently 25 years old. I started business school when I was 16, started a music recording and live sound production company when I was 18, married my beautiful wife, Kayla, at 21, and my wife and I now run a creative media agency with 4 full-time employees, and we're continuing to grow. So today, go ahead, Rich, sorry.
I was just going to say, you are the perfect client that I was looking for, because I want to find young people, especially, that want to break out of the mold, want to be independent, want to be an entrepreneur, want to be a different type of thinking person, is not shaped and molded by the ways of the world, can think outside of the box and create a life for themselves that can not only be beneficial for them, but can bless others around them. That's why we connected.
And we know that you listening to the show are the same.
Yeah.
And that is why we've created the show. This is a coaching session
that
we're inviting you to be a part of. And I am on your behalf and asking questions, and we're talking through the ideas that we know that people, we know that people need these ideas. I've benefited from them. Rich has benefited from them. The clients have benefited from them. And so we wanted to invite everyone who wants to be a part of this to be a part of this. Can we talk through what the 5 ideas are and how they came to be and why you use them in both your coaching? I mean, this is a coaching session that we're doing right now. Why do you use them in your coaching business, and why are we so adamant to get these 5 ideas and these 5 categories out to the world?
Yeah, we're going to talk about one of them specifically today.
Cool.
But let me tell you where 5 ideas came from, okay? In my 35 plus years of leadership coaching, dealing with people from all walks of life, athletic coach, life and leadership coach, consultant, business consultant, et cetera, no matter who would come in to see me, whether it was a coaching session or it was just an employee or somebody wanting to grow, I found a pattern. They were stuck in one of 5 areas. 5, one of 5, and it was always something. Now, these are broad, they could be broad, but it was one of 5 areas. Number 1, health and fitness. Number 2, relationships. Number 3, money. Number 4, peak performance, which is basically being the best version of yourself. And number 5, faith and spirituality. So people were stuck in one of those 5 categories. And I decided to change my whole coaching method. And instead of just focusing on one area, we better focus on all 5 because they're integrated. They all come together. And here's what I found real quickly. What I found out is typically what they thought was their problem was not their problem. We talked about that in episode 1, right?
Yep.
And so, example, somebody would come in and say, Rich, I've got a relationship problem. What's the problem? Well, me and my significant other, we're not connecting. We're not hitting it off. Tell me a little about that. So they'd walk me through their day. They would come home. Here's what happens when I hit the door. I'm tired. I don't really feel like talking. I've been talking all day at work.
Just want to go to bed.
I just want to go to bed. And so I'm not connecting. We're going to bed. We're not getting along. Guess what? You really don't have a relationship problem. Yeah, you do. But your real problem, you have an energy problem.
Yep.
And so let's work at health and fitness, get you energized. And when you come through that door, vada voom, baby.
Yeah.
Okay, the relationship problem is going to take care of itself.
Absolutely.
That's where 5 ideas came from.
And as Rich is saying, these 5 ideas, they're all integrated to each other. These 5 categories are all integrated with each other. And you can't really be holistically successful in just one of them. You have to be successful in all of them to have holistic success. Again, we say it on every episode, at least up until this point. What is the point of having money if you don't have health? What is the point of having money and health if you don't have anyone to share it with? What's the point of having money, health, and a relationship if it all just ends in a few short years and you turn to dust? That's why all 5 are so important to have a holistically successful life. And today, we're focusing on one of my favorites, which is peak performance, which is really just how to be the best version of yourself.
Absolutely. And this is one of my favorites too. I love working with clients that want to improve their quality of their life. They want to be productive. How can we be productive? And that's what people are looking for. They don't want to just get through life. They want to be productive. How do you do that? And so it's what I've learned is that early on when people would come to me, it would be questions about time management. And what I've discovered was it wasn't a time management issue. The problem wasn't time management. The problem was, what do you value? What is your priority? And what do you want to accomplish?
It seems like on every episode there's a common theme. The problem isn't ever usually the problem. So you're saying people who wanted to be peak performers or the best version of themselves, they just look at their calendar and they're like, well, to do that, I got to maximize my schedule, put this block here, this block here. It's a scheduling issue, they thought, and you're saying it's not.
No, it's not. Scheduling does come into play, and we'll work with that, and we'll get scheduling and accountability, which is huge in peak performance and being the best version of yourself. But the real issue is, what is my purpose and what do I value?
Yep.
And if we can find out what you value, then we're going to look and say, okay, is your time going towards what you value? And then scheduling comes into play, because then you better schedule what's important to you based upon your value. But if you don't determine what's important to you, I'll give you an example of that. How about that?
All right.
And this is kind of a cool thing, because this may speak to parents. So when I was just getting started in my career, I never had a problem with work ethic. So I was going at it. And I did have a value system. And one of my value systems was family. And I remember writing out all my values. Faith, number 1. That family, number 2. They all started with F. Faith, number 1. Family, number 2. Finance, number 3. Friends, number 4. Fun, number 5. I mean, I had it down, right? But here's the problem. I had 2 little boys that were growing up, and I was just running around trying to be number 1 in my career. One day, my wife went away for a couple of days, and they took the kids, and I was going through some photo albums. I noticed in the photo albums that oftentimes at key times, birthdays, celebrations, that all these pictures were of her and the kids and other people. And I would ask her when she got back, I said, hey, why don't you ever take pictures of me at these special occasions? And she looked at me, non-judgmental, but very soberly, and said, because you weren't there.
Wow.
Yeah. Huge wake-up call, right? And I realized right away, my value, I put a value on being a dad. I put a value on being a family man. I was not being the best version of myself. And I decided to change things. I decided to change my schedule. But before my schedule changed, I had to change my priority. And I dramatically changed.
So you desired for that to be a value.
I desired.
But your schedule said it wasn't.
Everything said it wasn't. My schedule, my priority, my attitude.
You said it was with your mouth, but your actions speak louder than words.
It was a big lofty, I value family. Oh, do you really? Okay. So once you really identify what you really value, then you can lean into being the best version of yourself. Do you know, I made a 180, and I wasn't a perfect dad by any stretch of the imagination. But from that point on, if you could interview my boys today, they would say, boy, Dad was at every game. He coached us. He was there for us. I did a 180 at that point and realized life is short. I'm not going to be able to do this over. They're only 5 years old once. They're only 10 years old once. They're only 15-year-old once. I don't, from this day on, want to miss that opportunity. So I had to find out what I truly valued before I could be a peak performer in the area of being a dad. And that's just one example.
So you can be a peak performer in a lot of areas. And just because you're a peak performer in one doesn't mean you're a peak performer in all, right?
Right.
So it's like, that's why you start with the value.
Exactly.
Because you might be a peak performer at work, but you don't really value work. So it's like, why are you being a peak performer here and you're not being a peak performer as a dad, but you really do actually value your family. You just somehow got flip-flopped.
Yes.
And usually it's probably with good intention that people do that. That's probably a common thing that happens. And I know it's a common thing that happens is people, fathers especially, they'll get inundated with their work because they're trying to be a good provider. They're trying to get money for their family and their children because, again, they put their faith in their finances, which is volatile and unstable. And that's why they can become volatile and unstable in a lot of areas as well. But you're suggesting that your schedule is the real picture. Your time is the real. If I wanted to go back as a forensic accountant or a FBI agent and look and try to find evidence of what somebody valued, I just pull out their calendar.
Absolutely. You take a look at where you went through the day and through the evening, and I'll show you what you value.
Yep.
And here's another way to be the best version of yourself. Okay. This is really important because once you begin to value something, and then you really live that value out, then you can constantly improve upon that. You can constantly get better. You can't get better until you know what it is you need to get better at.
Yeah.
So you have to identify that.
Yep. So ding, 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 ding. We got some ideas already this early on into the show. So again, the problem isn't usually the problem. And again, Rich gave the example of his life and his family and what he valued, but that can be applied to anything.
It can.
And it's really that you just take that step back and you look and you see, what do I value? Take an inventory. Maybe you value having time to travel the world. Maybe you value the exact same thing, having a family. Maybe you do value your career. Maybe you value helping people, et cetera, et cetera. But you got to start with that. You don't start with the schedule and the peak performance, and because eventually you're going to just burn out because why are you doing any of it anyway? And so the idea is to take a step back and look at and write it down. What do I value? Why do I value it? And then start building your schedule around that is what I picked up on as the idea.
Yeah, values. And here's number 2. And this is a coaching session.
Yep.
And this is a freebie for everybody watching this, but this is powerful what I'm going to give you in the next few moments. So you have your value system. Next, you move to, and I teach this to all of my clients, who do you want to show up every day? How do you want to show up? So if you want to be a peak performer, if you want to live out the best version of yourself, you have to determine ahead of time how you're going to show up in life versus just showing up and let life doing to you. So many people just show up to life, and whatever life brings them, then that's what they react to. I teach the principle, if you're going to be the best version of yourself, no matter what happens to me, this is how I'm going to show up.
Wow.
And the way I do that is I say, let's think of 3 words that you want to embrace, okay? Let's say, and I'm going to just throw a couple out. No matter what I go through in life, for me to be the best version of myself, I'm going to be confident. I'm going to be compassionate, and I'm going to be curious. Meaning, instead of just walking into life and going, oh no, something happened, and so now I don't know who I am, or oh no, some difficult situation happened, so I'm not going to show compassion. I've already decided. For me to be the best version of myself, I have confidence in who I am. I have compassion with other people, and I'm going to get curious. I'm going to find out. I want to know about Joey. I want to know about your life. I want to know about your struggles. I want to know about your challenges in life. That's curiosity. That's me wanting to get to know you better.
Intentionality.
Intentionality. And in other words, instead of life doing me, I'm doing life.
Yep.
I'm getting out in front of life. And that's how I believe we can, the second way, become the best version of ourselves. I'm not going to give you the third because that's in my book. So, so I'll give you the first two, and that is to find your values and then determine how you're going to show up in every situation is a good way to be the best version of yourself.
Absolutely. And again, not that these things aren't important. It's just not what the show is about. We are not here to give you, and I'm not dogging on anybody who does this. There's a lot of people out there who have a lot of great strategies, but we're not here to give you the calendar model. We're not here to tell you, hey, this is the first block of your day, second block, third block, blah, 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 blah. There are great resources out there for people in different stages of life, but that's like step 3. Step 1 is step back. Step 2 is write down what you value. And then really step 3 is starting to actually align your schedule in a way that matches with your values. Would you agree with that, or am I just blowing smoke?
You know what? I think that's a good summary, because it's funny because I've got clients that have 14 different calendar apps and they don't use any of them, and I've got clients that write out their schedule on a napkin and are high performers,
Wow.
peak performance. So it's not the system; it's what you've valued, and then how you're going to show up, and then somehow getting it down so you actually live that out. So yeah, I agree.
Awesome. And the systems can help.
They can.
They're tools to help you with what you're trying to accomplish, but they're not going to make you accomplish those things. And I don't know if you have any final thoughts. I mean, I think we hit it right on the head. Take a step back, find out what you value, and then build around that.
I just would add that this is an area that I super get excited about, because I believe that I just believe that so many people have so much more. There's so much more in them. There's so much more to get. I believe that about myself. I challenge myself that every day. Oh, there's so much more, Rich. And I don't mean living under the stress of doing more, okay? I'm not talking about doing more.
Right.
I'm talking about being more, right? Being the best version of yourself. Being is much more important than doing. We are human beings, not human doings. Human doings, you can get burned out. But when you are being the very best version of yourself, you don't get burned out. You get energized. I'll tell you what, when I fully engage myself into 100% being a present dad, there's nothing in my life that's been more fulfilling. That has been the most fulfilling thing in my life. And guess what? Now at this time in my life, I have no regrets. I have 2 sons that are my adult friends, and we do things together. Very rewarding, very fulfilling. I don't regret it, but I had to come to that point where, is this what you value? And when you do, you can be a peak performer in whatever area that you value.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of 5 Ideas. We're greatly looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. Go live the best version of your life, and we'll see you on the next episode of 5 Ideas.